Most upcoming games try to sell you on bigger maps, better graphics, or more explosions. But the games in this video, they're doing something completely different. These are the titles experimenting with terrifying ideas, bizarre mechanics, psychological storytelling, and gameplay systems we honestly haven't seen before. Some of them turn typing into horror. Some play with time, identity, or even your own fear itself. And a few look so strange that people still aren't sure what genre they even belong to. So today, we're looking at 20 upcoming games that aren't like any other games. The weirdest, boldest, and most unique projects currently in development. Let's get into it. Most survival horror games ask you to manage ammo. GRAFT asks you to manage your own humanity. This upcoming sci-fi horror RPG from Harebrained, the studio behind Shadowrun and Battletech, throws you into a dying megastructure called the Ark, where survival literally changes your body. The game's big hook is its GRAFT system. You rip biological upgrades from enemies and attach them to yourself, transforming your abilities while also altering your memories, emotions, and identity. That means every upgrade comes with psychological consequences, not just stat boosts. It's survival horror mixed with body horror, immersive sim design, and RPG storytelling in a way that feels genuinely fresh. Instead of becoming stronger like a typical hero, you slowly become something terrifying yourself. And honestly, that's what makes GRAFT impossible to ignore. Hideo Kojima has made weird games before, but OD sounds like he's trying to reinvent horror itself. Officially described as an experience exploring fear thresholds, OD is being developed with filmmaker Jordan Peele, and Kojima himself says it's not just a game. That line alone should tell you this thing is going to be experimental. The teaser already feels unsettling, with hyper-real facial scans, fragmented dialogue, and hidden details fans are still decoding frame by frame. But the really fascinating part is how OD reportedly reacts to player fear, even including systems designed for people who get too scared to continue. That's such a Kojima idea, turning the player's emotions into gameplay mechanics. Most horror games try to scare you. OD sounds like it wants to study you, manipulate you, and psychologically wear you down in ways we haven't really seen before. Battle Royale games have done guns, magic, cars, extraction mechanics, but Final Sentence turned typing into psychological horror, and somehow, it works. The entire game takes place in a giant hangar where players sit at typewriters with a revolver pointed at their heads. Every typing mistake increases your chances of death through a twisted Russian roulette mechanic. So unlike normal typing games where speed is everything, here accuracy becomes pure survival instinct. One typo could literally end your run. It's such a bizarre combination of educational mechanics, horror tension, and multiplayer competition that it instantly stands out from every other indie game on Steam right now. The atmosphere is bleak, minimal, and incredibly stressful. You're not fighting enemies with weapons, you're fighting panic itself. And honestly, that idea alone deserves attention because nobody else is making typing games feel this intense. Whenever Fumito Ueda makes a game, people pay attention because nobody builds worlds quite like him. Gen Atlas already looks unlike anything else coming out. Instead of filling the screen with constant action, the game focuses on loneliness, scale, mystery, and emotional exploration. The same magic that made Shadow of the Colossus legendary. You wake up on an abandoned planet filled with gigantic structures, shifting oceans, and towering machines that feel ancient and unknowable. But here's what makes it fascinating. Despite having combat and shooting mechanics, Ueda says Gen Atlas is not a shooter at all. The focus is atmosphere, discovery, and your relationship with this colossal robot companion traveling beside you. Every trailer frame feels quiet, strange, and deeply human at the same time. In an industry obsessed with fast dopamine hits, Gen Atlas feels designed to make players feel wonder again. Star Trek games usually focus on diplomacy, exploration, or tactical combat. Shadow Frontier goes somewhere much darker. Developed by Bloober Team, the studio known for psychological horror, this game transforms Star Trek into a survival thriller centered around Ro Laren. And honestly, that alone makes it one of the boldest uses of the franchise in years. The game traps players on a terrifying alien world filled with haunting visions, psychological instability, and environmental threats that slowly invade Ro's mind. What makes it unique is how it blends classic Star Trek technology with horror design. Your tricorder isn't just for scanning lore, it's part of surviving the unknown. Even the phaser becomes more of a desperate survival tool than a power fantasy weapon. It still respects Star Trek's themes of curiosity and exploration, but filters them through paranoia, isolation, and fear. That's not something you hear often in this universe.
This time, you have to let me go. Ro, Laren.
That is not going to happen.
Most detective games try to make you feel smart. Stranger Than Heaven wants to make you feel completely lost. Developed by Ryuga Gotoku Studio, the team behind the Yakuza series, this upcoming mystery adventure mixes crime drama, psychological horror, and surreal storytelling into something that feels impossible to predict. Set inside a strange, isolated town where reality itself seems unstable, the game constantly shifts tone between grounded investigations and deeply unsettling supernatural moments. What makes it stand out is how your choices reportedly affect not just the story, but the actual logic of the world around you. NPCs remember strange details, environments subtly change, and certain clues may completely disappear depending on your actions. Even the dialogue system feels experimental, with conversations evolving based on emotion rather than simple morality choices. It's part detective thriller, part nightmare simulator, and honestly, nobody else is making games quite like this. Vampire games usually make you feel powerful immediately. Blood of the Dawnwalker does something way more interesting. It makes you feel cursed. Created by Rebel Wolves, a studio formed by former Witcher 3 developers, this dark fantasy RPG follows Cohen, a man trapped between humanity and vampirism. But the game's biggest twist is its dynamic day and night system. During the day, you're physically weaker and vulnerable. At night, your vampire abilities grow stronger, unlocking entirely different ways to explore, fight, and interact with the world. That means the same mission can play out completely differently depending on the time you choose to approach it. The developers also describe the game as a narrative sandbox, where major story outcomes aren't tied to simple good or bad choices. Instead, survival, hunger, and personal sacrifice shape the narrative. It's not just another vampire RPG, it's a game about slowly losing control of what you are.
Their worst nightmare. A Dawnwalker. Trapped between the to even the score. Fighting to understand the evil behind it all. He is out there, watching, seeping into you, growing.
In a world where fighting games are becoming louder and more cinematic every year, Virtua Fighter Crossroads is doing the exact opposite. And that's what makes it exciting. Sega's legendary franchise has always focused on precision, realism, and pure mechanics over flashy chaos. But Crossroads looks ready to modernize that philosophy without abandoning what made Virtua Fighter special in the first place. Early footage shows brutal close quarters combat with highly detailed animations, reactive environments, and an emphasis on timing that feels almost martial arts realistic compared to other modern fighters. Every hit carries weight. Every movement matters. There are no giant energy beams covering the screen, just raw skill and positioning. What's especially interesting is how Sega seems to be blending esports level competitive depth with cinematic storytelling elements inspired by martial arts films. In an era dominated by spectacle fighters, Crossroads feels refreshingly disciplined, grounded, and completely unique.
Bunuh mereka semua.
Hei, ini aku.
Tidak. Ini tidak akan berakhir, Sienna.
Kamu mengacaukan mafia Cina.
Satu gerakan lagi dan aku akan memenggal kepalanya. Baiklah, santai saja, Sam. Itu milik.
Ya, Sil. Kamu berperan sebagai petarung, tetapi kamu kurang dalam kungfu.
Ribut. Punya darah, keringat, dan penyintas. Hidup.
Ken Levine could have just made another BioShock clone. Instead, Judas looks like he's trying to evolve narrative shooters into something far stranger. Set aboard a collapsing colony ship filled with broken AI systems and emotionally unstable survivors, the game focuses heavily on dynamic relationships rather than scripted morality systems. Levine describes it as narrative Legos, where characters remember your actions, form opinions about you, and react unpredictably throughout the story. That means alliances can change naturally instead of following simple dialogue trees. Mechanically, Judas still has that BioShock DNA with bizarre weapons, powers, and environmental combat, but the real hook is psychological manipulation. Characters can fear you, trust you, betray you, or emotionally depend on you based on your decisions. It turns storytelling into an evolving system instead of a fixed script. Most games give you branching paths. Judas wants every player's experience to feel emotionally unstable and uniquely personal.
And you know what? They're right.
Crossfire has technically existed for years as one of the biggest shooters on the planet, but this new evolution of the franchise is trying something surprisingly ambitious. Instead of simply competing with Call of Duty or Battlefield, Crossfire blends cinematic military action with tactical systems and large-scale online warfare in ways that feel very different from most modern FPS games. One of the biggest hooks is how the game mixes realistic squad coordination with near-future experimental technology, creating battles that constantly shift between grounded gunfights and chaotic strategic warfare. But what really makes Crossfire interesting is its global approach to multiplayer design. The franchise has always had massive popularity in regions outside the traditional Western shooter market, and that influence gives the gameplay a noticeably different pacing and style compared to most AAA shooters. It feels faster, more aggressive, and more arcade-like without completely abandoning tactical depth. That identity makes Crossfire stand apart immediately.
You're not one of them anymore.
Yeah, well, that's temporary. Just like you and me.
You guys don't understand the real threat. Not like we do.
Hurry, stay low! If I go to work with my enemy to survive, so be it. For now.
Either we fight those things together, or die alone. Hang up the phone.
No. Do not touch him.
We fight together, or die alone.
Steampunk games usually focus on gadgets and aesthetics. Clockwork Revolution goes much bigger. It weaponizes time itself. Developed by In Exile Entertainment, this first-person RPG throws players into the city of Avalon, where history has secretly been manipulated by a powerful elite using time travel technology. But unlike most games where changing the past only affects cutscenes, here your actions visibly reshape the world around you in real time. Entire neighborhoods transform, NPCs change identities, and social classes rise or collapse depending on what you alter in history. That's the really exciting part. The game treats time travel like a gameplay system, not just a story gimmick. It also mixes deep RPG customization with immersive sim-style freedom, letting players approach situations through combat, stealth, dialogue, or pure chaos. Visually, it looks like BioShock Infinite collided with Dishonored, but mechanically, Clockwork Revolution feels far more unpredictable and experimental.
A corpse in hand is worth two in the grave, as they say.
Look at the bloody airships. We're not here for you.
Not here for me! I'm Anne fucking Darrow!
Time to lay our hands to mischief.
We've been preparing to rob Griswick's vault for months now. To pull in the heist tonight, yeah? Morgan, get to that crane to lower the ship.
Greetings. I am the Miracle Industries auto-loading crane. If you have the authority, I am at your service.
What happens if I fired a few holes in you?
The lift is now unlocked.
Ah, defeat. How sad. You were all doing so well.
Do you expect us to go quietly?
Well, I certainly don't expect any trouble from some of Avalon's most disposable citizens.
Hello, frightened human. I can get you out of this. You've just jumped about 25 years back in time. This place, on this day, is ripe for changing the course of history.
This life ain't one for granting easy choices, but I just found a way to control the past. Change who's in control. Make things unfair in our favor. Brought you a little toy with a big mouth.
What a proper little villain.
A better villain than you'll ever be, you decrepit old soak.
The pimp, the plod, the priest. Who do we like the least? Oh, it's different how they do ya. The ways they stick it to ya. And when they're done with chucking it up the old downstairs, well, they're all gonna screw you in the end.
Nothing's ever given to folk like us, especially not the future. But this time, we've a chance to steal it.
But when they're done with
What more
chucking
could
it
an
up
honest thief ask for?
stairs, well, they're all going to screw you in the end.
Most sci-fi games ask players to save humanity. Ontos asks a much stranger question. What even counts as human anymore? This atmospheric sci-fi RPG focuses heavily on consciousness, artificial identity, and philosophical exploration, instead of traditional action-heavy storytelling. Set in a distant future where minds can be copied, transferred, and altered digitally, the game blurs the line between memory and reality in ways that feel deeply unsettling. What makes Ontos stand out is its approach to player choice. Instead of choosing between simple moral options, players reportedly shape how their own consciousness evolves throughout the game. Certain memories can be deleted, emotional responses can change, and even your perception of events may become unreliable over time. Mechanically, it combines exploration, investigation, and dialogue systems with surreal environmental storytelling that constantly questions what's real. It feels less like a normal RPG and more like an interactive existential crisis. And honestly, that's exactly why it's fascinating.
Play your father's game. Push the very limits until you're reality itself breaks.
Sega could have just made another nostalgic arcade racer. Instead, Crazy Taxi World Tour looks like it's trying to modernize chaos itself. The original Crazy Taxi was already insane, launching cars through traffic while punk rock blasted in the background, but World Tour expands that energy into a massive connected city filled with multiplayer systems, dynamic events, and constantly evolving urban madness. What makes it unique is how the game blends arcade driving with social sandbox mechanics. Players aren't just racing against timers anymore, they're competing inside a living city where stunts, shortcuts, destruction, and passenger interactions all become part of the experience. The developers have also hinted at large-scale online elements where multiple drivers create unpredictable traffic disasters simultaneously. It still keeps that fast, exaggerated arcade handling the series is famous for, but now the city itself feels like a playground built entirely around chaos. Honestly, no modern driving game looks this unapologetically wild.
Someone around you hears what you say. You try being cool. You play by the rules. Now set your drive. So stack up your room. Stack up your chargers. Now they're fancy saying,
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games are usually colorful beat-em-ups full of jokes and pizza references. The last Ronin goes in the complete opposite direction. Based on the darker comic storyline, this game follows the final surviving turtle in a brutal future version of New York City where the rest of the team is gone. And what makes it stand out immediately is its tone. This isn't arcade nostalgia. It's a mature action RPG focused on grief, revenge, and survival. Inspired by modern cinematic combat games, the gameplay reportedly emphasizes heavier combat, emotional storytelling, and exploration rather than simple button mashing. The identity of the surviving turtle also changes how players emotionally connect with the story, especially longtime TMNT fans. Visually, the game leans into darker, cyberpunk-style environments and grounded combat choreography that feels more serious than anything the franchise has attempted before. It's still TMNT, just filtered through tragedy instead of comedy. Open-world survival games usually give you a large map. Light No Fire is trying to give players an actual planet. Developed by Hello Games, the creators of No Man's Sky, this fantasy adventure takes place on a procedurally generated Earth-sized world where mountains, oceans, forests, and continents exist seamlessly without loading screens. And honestly, the scale sounds almost ridiculous. But what makes the game truly unique isn't just size, it's the focus on slow exploration and shared discovery. Instead of rushing players through quests and progression systems, Light No Fire encourages climbing distant peaks, building settlements with friends, taming creatures, and uncovering forgotten ruins hidden across an almost endless fantasy landscape. Players can travel by foot, mount, boat, or flying beast while naturally encountering other adventurers in the world. It feels like survival gameplay mixed with the feeling of classic fantasy journeys. Less about winning and more about getting lost somewhere unforgettable. Most horror games throw monsters at you and call it a day. Animal Use Protocol feels different because the horror comes from science completely losing control. Set inside a secret underground research facility, the game follows Pen, a hyper-intelligent chimpanzee enhanced through brutal experimentation. Right away, that premise alone makes it stand out. You're not playing a soldier or survivor, you're playing the experiment itself. The gameplay blends survival horror with immersive sim mechanics, letting players climb through ventilation systems, manipulate equipment, solve environmental puzzles, and evade terrifying mutated creatures created by failed experiments. What makes the game especially unique is how it mixes emotional storytelling with disturbing body horror. Pen isn't just escaping the facility, he's slowly understanding what humans did to him. The result feels part sci-fi thriller, part psychological horror, and part tragic character study. Honestly, very few games make you empathize with the lab experiment instead of fearing it.
You're sure this is the right way?
With indignation, pathfinding, very good. Better than smelly cake. Better than run, run, run. Paralyzed terror. Smelly cake, run. Run, 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 run.
HAEX looks like someone blended heavy metal album art, cyberpunk horror, and classic boomer shooters into one violent fever dream. At first glance, it resembles old school shooters like Doom or Quake, but the atmosphere immediately separates it from everything else. The world feels grotesque, industrial, and almost biomechanical, with environments that look alive in deeply uncomfortable ways. What really makes HAEX stand out is its movement and combat philosophy. Instead of realistic military gunplay, the game focuses on speed, aggression, and rhythm-like combat flow, where survival depends on chaining movement and attacks together almost musically. Enemies don't just attack, they overwhelm the screen with chaos that forces constant motion. Even the visuals feel experimental, using distorted lighting and surreal textures that make every level look like a nightmare simulation. Most shooters chase realism now. HAEX proudly embraces pure video game insanity, and honestly, that alone makes it refreshing. Making a John Wick game sounds obvious, but actually capturing what makes John Wick cool is incredibly difficult. Most action games would just turn it into another mindless shooter, but this upcoming project reportedly focuses on recreating the precision, choreography, and tactical flow of the films rather than simple run-and-gun chaos. That's the key difference. John Wick combat isn't about spraying bullets everywhere. It's about controlled efficiency, movement, and improvisation under pressure. The developers are said to be designing encounters where positioning, timing, and environmental awareness matter as much as accuracy itself. That means fights feel more like violent choreography than traditional shooter gameplay. There's also huge potential for blending cinematic storytelling with strategic combat systems inspired by martial arts and close quarters gunplay. If done correctly, this could become one of the few movie-based games that truly captures the identity of its source material instead of just borrowing the name.
I believe you are ready, sir.
Yeah.
Ill might genuinely be one of the most disturbing horror games currently in development, and that's not because of jump scares, it's because of how horrifyingly physical everything looks. Built around incredibly detailed body horror, the game focuses on realistic creature behavior, dynamic gore systems, and enemies that react to damage in deeply unsettling ways. But what makes Ill unique isn't just the violence, it's the atmosphere of unpredictability. The monsters don't feel scripted, they move erratically, mutate, and attack with disturbing realism that makes every encounter uncomfortable to watch. The developers are also emphasizing immersive environmental interaction, meaning almost everything around you can become part of survival. Doors break naturally, objects react physically, and combat often turns chaotic instead of perfectly cinematic. Visually, it almost looks too realistic at times, which somehow makes the horror even worse. Most horror games want you scared. Ill wants you genuinely disturbed.
You fell from the moon?
I will help you, but you must not go there.
I'll take my chances. Turns out I'm a lucky man.
You'll find nothing there. But death.
Well, good luck. Keep quiet in there.
Beast of Reincarnation instantly stands out because it combines beauty and terror in a way that feels almost dreamlike. Developed by Game Freak, yes, the Pokemon studio, this action RPG takes place in a ruined post-apocalyptic Japan where nature, spirits, and monstrous creatures have completely overtaken civilization. But instead of focusing purely on destruction, the world feels strangely peaceful and melancholic at the same time. What makes the game unique is its blend of spiritual fantasy with fast-paced action combat. The protagonist travels alongside a mysterious canine companion while battling massive corrupted beasts that look more mythical than traditional monsters. There's also a heavy emphasis on environmental storytelling and emotional atmosphere instead of constant exposition. Every scene shown so far feels quiet, haunting, and visually artistic. Coming from a studio mostly known for Pokemon, the tone alone feels shocking. Beast of Reincarnation looks less like a standard RPG and more like an interactive myth. Honestly, that's what makes gaming exciting right now. While so many studios keep chasing the same trends, these developers are out here taking real risks, experimenting with strange mechanics, unusual stories, and ideas that could either completely fail or become the next big thing. Some of these games might end up changing entire genres, while others could become cult classics people talk about for years. Either way, they're impossible to ignore. So let me know in the comments which game looked the most unique to you, and if there are any other upcoming games that deserve to be on a list like this. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more upcoming game videos every week. Thanks for watching.